Alright, so I figured today I'm going to give you a double dose of Stormhawk's headcanon because you guys can't get enough of it. And by some people, a handful, really. But yeah, I figured I'd talk about my headcanon for the Cyclonians and kind of talk about what kind of world I built around that, because here's the beautiful thing about Stormhawks. Much like I've always said, much like Star Wars and several other, big universes, there's a lot of room to really make like a big playground, really, of this universe. So with Stormhawks, I really, you can just go nuts because they gave you so much in just those 2 seasons, but enough to build your own universe, really. That's what I've always said about the universes on a whole, is they do such a good job with that, with, leaving it open enough. I'm sure they would have liked to have built more, but, sadly we didn't get more, so, just figured you might as well build what you got, right? Anyway, so today I'm going to be doing, as you can see, the Stormhawks. Now, the Stormhawks are, the Cyclonians. Why did I say Cyclonian? Why did I say Stormhawks? The Cyclonians are, pretty much, as we all know, the bad guys, but there's so little known about them. There is so little known about them, and there was, and I feel like you can do enough with it, really. So with this kind of headcanon, and keep in mind, this is just my personal headcanon, and yeah, that's kind of it. It's not really word of law, it's just my personal headcanon. Anyway, so my Cyclonian headcanon for the origin of for Cyclonia was that, like what Master Cyclonus said at the beginning of the season, of the series, was that Cyclonia did rule all of Atmos, and that was true, and I had it that in the beginning, the Cyclonian Empire ranged all across Atmos, and even, because there were records lost, but it was believed in some cases that even some excursions by the Cyclonian Empire even went as far as the far side of the Atmos. And it's believed that it is believed by the first ruler, the first Master Cyclonus, that she went through the door, and she actually created the door to go to the far side of the Atmos, and there are actually Cyclonian outposts on the other side of Atmos, on the far side, hence why we had the door. She not only built it, but also went through it and went on to and help colonize there. But it's never been really confirmed, because if the Cyclonian colonization worked at all, because the records were lost. Anyway, so the Cyclonian Empire did last for a long time, up until we had the first Rex Guardians, which, as you guys remember in the show, those were the first Sky Knights. And, well, the first Sky Knight was a Rex Guardian. And from there, it was more like, they were more like a rebellion. The Rex Guardians were more like a rebellion, and it wasn't until 20 years, this war between, this rebellion of the Rex Guardians and from one Terra on Terra Rex, and the Sky Knights eventually created their own rebel groups, which became the first Sky Knight squadrons. So they became a kind of like the Rebel Alliance. And for about 20-30 years, the Cyclonian Empire and this rebellion, which were calling themselves Sky Knights, they managed to fight back the Empire, and at this point, the Empire was so large that it couldn't keep itself sustained. And from that, the Cyclonian Empire started to have some infighting, there was civil war, there was a coup, there was a lot of things going against it until the Cyclonian Empire was driven all the way back to Terra Cyclonia, and several little pieces here and there. Several little little surrounding Terras, but it was really just beaten back to its home, to its home Terra. From there, the Cyclonians were, for give or take a couple, for a long time, really, the Cyclonians were busy fighting among themselves. For what little territory they had, the Cyclonians were trying to, were in the midst of their own civil war, and they had basically were killing each other. And meanwhile, the rest of the Terras, now united, the United Terras of Atmos, they formed the Sky Knight squad. They created the Sky Council. Atmosia became the new home of the Sky Knight squadrons, and that's how it was born, at least in my headcanon. Anyway, so So no one really thought about stamping out Terra Cyclonia for good, because they thought because Cyclonia again was in the midst of their own civil wars and they were too busy killing each other. They just figured, yeah, they'll just kill each other off and be done with it. That was until Master Cyclonus' grandmother, finally took the throne, killed off her other opponents to the throne, her other opponents, and by opponents I mean siblings. She had all of her brothers and sisters killed, so she could take the throne, and from there she took on the title of Master Cyclonus. Now the big thing here with the title of Master Cyclonus is a couple things. Even though, the first Master Cyclonus was a woman, I had it in my headcanon that there has been male Master Cyclonians before, but they've all been human, because you can probably tell that I've based a lot of the Cyclonians off of some of the headcanon for the Galactic Empire. But yeah, it's always been human. There have been no non-humans really, because the Cyclonian Empire is pretty xenophobic. Yeah, they're pretty xenophobic, and they're very pro-human. So yeah, there have only been human male and female master, but there have been male males who have taken the title of Master Cyclonus. There haven't been just women who have taken it; it's also been men. So after Master Cyclonus' grandmother, who I'll just call Master Cyclonus right now, that Cyclonus of the past took over. She pretty much went about, trying to fix the years and years and years of damage done to her own empire. So she spent the good part of her years trying to fix all the damage that had been done, and expanding the empire and keeping it afloat economically, as well as finding resources and alliances to basically build the empire back. There was a lot of fucking work to do, and that's why they had to pretty much go, well, shit, we need to really work. We really need to get our asses going here. So that was the big thing with this, is that, Master Cyclonus didn't really get the ball rolling until first she had to get all of her shit taken care of, and then, have an heir, have a daughter, and, have at least an heir so she can continue, and from there, then she could begin the war on Atmos once again, which she did. So the war with Cyclonia began again, and yeah, from there the Cyclonians were once again a rising empire. The Cyclonian remnant at the time had now become a full-fledged empire once more, and they were rising like a goddamn phoenix. So yeah, now before I go any further with this, let me say that this next part, this following part with the Cyclonian headcanon is kind of tied in with what I talked about in my headcanon for Arrow and Cyclonus. So keep in mind, what I'm about to tell you here is part of the new headcanon I have for Arrow and Master Cyclonus. I actually did a video on that a while back. You guys can go back and check out the further explanation for that. So here we go. So everything's going fine for Master Cyclonus, and she has, she's now, gained more, the Empire's growing once again. It can finally rise once again. However, she didn't take into account that her daughter would fall in love with with Lightning Strike, the leader of the Stormhawks, and, have his twins, a boy and a girl. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. In my headcanon, this new headcanon I've thought of, Arrow and Cyclonus are twin siblings. They are, brother and sister, and yeah, unfortunately, the past Cyclonus, her daughter, the Princess of Cyclonia, passed away in childbirth, so she was left without an heir, and this kind of led to a secret conflict between Lightning and the previous Master Cyclonus. They came to an agreement of basically saying, look, I need an heir, and I need an heir, but what I don't need is two heirs, because I just spent a good latter half of my life putting together a empire that was racked with civil war with my own siblings. I don't need this shit again. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna forget that you and my daughter, knocked boots, and I'm also gonna give you the boy. I'm going to give you the boy, and you're going to never, you're never going to tell him about where his mother came from or anything like that. You're going to keep your fucking mouth shut. I'm going to keep the daughter to have as my heir and to, be my successor. So that's what happened. So, yeah, in this continuity, in this headcanon, I should say, I shouldn't say continuity, in this headcanon continuity, why did I say continuity again, goddammit, yeah, Arrow is, in my headcanon, the legitimate prince of Cyclonia. He is a prince of Cyclonia, technically speaking. So, yeah, Cyclonus had, at least had one daughter to be a successor. She had her granddaughter to be successor, but she realized, hey, I need someone to watch over my kid in case of the event that, someone tries to kill her, which they probably will. So she went about looking for an ally. She wanted someone strong to protect her. Obviously, she couldn't trust, the rising Cyclonian warriors, Ravus and Snipe, because, yeah, at this point they were still young, and they couldn't be they weren't exactly the best caretakers in her absence. So she went looking outside and found a member of the Stormhawk she could trust. Yes, the original Dark Ace. So she went about pretty much being Palpatine to his Anakin, and she thought to herself, I can kill two birds with one stone here. I can get rid of lightning, make sure he never let slip to his son that he's a Prince of Cyclonia, and we go into the whole Civil War thing again, and I have someone protecting, my granddaughter. So I can kill two birds with one stone here. So hence, that's what she more or less, like I said, Emperor Palpatine's Dark Ace into making him kill lightning and then serving Cyclonus, preferably being a protector and right hand man to her granddaughter. So that's how it was that's how, in my headcanon at least, that's how it all plays out. Anyway, so yeah, now, about a lot of the religion and theology, I've had it in my head, for my headcanon, is that the Cyclonians aren't really religious. They aren't really religious. They just believe in peace through tyranny. That's kind of their whole mantra is, peace through, crack the whip and make sure they don't get back up. So that's kind of the thing. The closest thing they have to a religion is might makes right, and that the Master Cyclonus is the closest thing to a god. Because they don't really, they really don't have time for religion. They don't really have... For them, it's more like, ain't nobody got time for that. So yeah, they're kind of all a bunch of atheists, really. And not to say... And, it's not because, religion is bad for them. No, it's more like, we got more important shit to do than, praying. So that's kind of the thing, is that they consider, any kind of religious practice a hassle, really. They kind of are like, whatever, we die, that's kind of it. But as long as we're on Earth, we're going to rule. That is our mantra. So yeah, it's, it's kind of a brutal outlook on life, really. Yeah. No gods, no masters, except them. That is the Cyclonian way for them. Anyway, so that's really it. Now, for other things, is that the Cyclonians, even though they've aligned themselves with non-humans, they are strictly a human group. They are strictly a all humans inclusive. You're not, you may be working with us, but you're not with us. That's kind of it. Even with how they were working with the Raptors, it was more like, no. You don't work with us, you work for us. There is a difference here. And that's kind of how it goes for all non-humans. Now, they can induct humans outside of the Cyclonians into their groups. That's kind of how they play out. And that was kind of how it was in my headcanon for Ravus and Snipe. Is that Ravus and Snipe, their parents were, they were kind of lower class members of Terra, of other Terras. But when they, when the Cyclonians took over that Terra, they slowly proved themselves over the years as soldiers. And when they had, Ravus and Snipe, they were kind of like, here, you can train them, be warriors, they can be your weapons. And that's kind of how it was. That's kind of how I had it for my headcanon for Ravus and Snipe's origins, really. Um, so yeah. What else did I want to say? Not really much in terms of anything else really too big for to bring up, but I did have in like as an afterthought of the Cyclonian Empire. I did have several ideas, and including some some OC characters like Gideon, not that Gideon, a Merbian called Gideon who was kind of like a Mr. Sinister type character who was obsessed with cloning and everything else. He was my OC character for. He was a Merbian OC who worked for the Cyclonians and was a real sicko. I had a few other characters, but Gideon always kind of struck out for me as a member of the Cyclonians, and yeah, he was a lot of fun. I recently created another character called, and I'll talk more about him. Well, actually, I didn't recently create him. He was a while back, but I never really utilized him, really. I'll talk more about it in a bit. Called a character called Admiral Kane. But anyway, so there you go, guys. That was pretty much the gist of my Stormhawks headcanon for the Cyclonians. Just comment below, let me know what you guys think of it. Do you guys like it? Do you guys hate it? Just comment below, let me know. And once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.